Now, at the weekend, Nigeria marked 62 years as an independent nation amid a high cost of living crisis, food shortages, rising poverty and insecurity. Many hope that a new government in 2023 will be able to deal with this country's multiple crises better. In every corner of Nigeria, there's an angry conversation about President Buhari's legacy, who should take over from him and who can be trusted to improve living conditions. The main opposition PDP is hoping that Nigerians will put their faith in Atiku Abubakar, the PDP's presidential candidate. But for that to have even the remotest chance of happening, the PDP will have to resolve the Wike storm that continues to batter the party, leaving it politically wounded just months ahead of that presidential election. So party leaders have been frantically commuting between Port Harcourt and Abuja, desperately trying to resolve those howling differences. But is there still an incentive for the Wike group to want to get back with the PDP's campaign council and go out to bat for Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now from Lagos by the well-known politician, business executive and former PDP presidential aspirant, Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa. Mazi Sam, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm going to get to your article in a moment, that the open letter that you wrote to President Buhari as Nigeria marked 62 years of independence. But let's look at the big problem that's sharply dividing your party at the moment, the APC. That's the Wike issue, them calling for the resignation of Mr. Ayu, amongst other things. As your party tries to effect some form of reconciliation, which doesn't appear to be working, might I ask which side you're on? I mean, or are you straddling the fence?
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Good evening, Nigerians. I believe that the internal conflict that the party has, of course, has received a lot of attention in the media and all over the world, because PDP is the party that most people expect should give APC a fight to be able to get to the office of the president in 2023. But I'd like to say that my position was that at first, our leadership was a little bit slow in confronting the problem. Maybe we didn't quite estimate the potential and the damage it could cause. But I have a conviction right now that the party leadership has risen up to the challenge, and they are confronting it day and night. The board of trustees, acting chairman and his team are all over the place. Other leaders in the party are working around the clock. My thinking is that there is a hope that this matter will be resolved pretty soon. I believe that it will. What makes it easy or easier to be resolved is like in other cases where you will think that Governor Wike would have jumped ship and gone to other parties. He has stated over and over that he's going nowhere. And there's nowhere anybody who is in a house will pull down the house that he's in. He is justly, as I've said before, making a case for balance, for equity, for ensuring that our party reflects the true nature of its national character. That's a good cause. But however, I think that the party is looking into it to make sure that we do not throw away the baby with the dirty bathwater. Our presidential aspirant made a very important comment recently as a statesman while he was in, I think, Gombe last week. He said the party may have made mistakes or must have made mistakes, but we're ready to correct them. And I think that is the way we are heading now. Effort is to correct those mistakes as much as possible and learn lessons that it's always better for us to follow our constitutional provisions from the beginning to the end, because it reduces the possibility of some of these hiccups that we're seeing now.
Well, Well, I mean, the problem you have is that the very measured assessment that you've given us appears to be falling on deaf ears, because that's not the way the Wike camp are reacting. You made the point that, you know, he's still a member of the PDP. He hasn't jumped ship, and that gives you some hope. But we know that the absence of war doesn't necessarily mean the presence of peace, does it?
It doesn't, but like I said, the critical thing here, the difference between what is going on today is that it is an internal conflict. That's what makes the difference, because if in the usual Nigerian political culture, Governor Wike will have since jumped boat. He will have left his groups, gone to some place, and a lot of fanfare made to receive him to another party. But he has decided to stand up because he realizes that there is no perfect situation. We all can make mistakes. He's running a state in Rivers State. I believe he has, if you ask PDP members or people in the state, they will say there are certain things he has done they are not happy with. He understands that, right, and he's trying to correct them his own way. So every human institution, every leader must know that there's a limit to how you can push a case. So well, I believe
I don't mean to interrupt
if the minimum is met, he will change.
Right. I think you need to add a note of caution to that, Mazi Sam, that so far he hasn't left the party, because you're not quite sure what's going to happen tomorrow. But I'm curious, because you're someone who has always seen yourself and been seen as someone who kind of stretches in terms of your contact, you know, from the top of the party to the bottom of the party. You ran for, you ran as an aspirant in the party to be president. I wonder how much of a howl of pain and rage about all this is happening amongst the wider PDP membership. I mean, you know, is there pressure from the membership of the party across the ranks to urgently reconstitute? I mean, the PDP reconstitute itself and focus on its purpose as elections approach? Because, I mean, it's starting to look as if the party is being led by individuals whose contact with reality seems rather thin.
Well, Charles, last week the party empaneled, is it 500 or 600 member presidential campaign council. I wish you were there to see the representation from all the states of the country, including Rivers State, Delta, and on the north, south, east, west. The PDP, what it has going for it is that it's a very established, large party with a lot of experienced people. I mean, if you know that the PDP is the oldest party in the country, it is only one that hasn't changed name, that hasn't merged with nobody. Even when some people left as NDPDP, many of them came back. That party has a strong foundation and a strong root, which is why some of us have identified with the party, because every party, like every human organization, must go through learning, and during the learning, you get better. PDP believes that it has learned its lessons in the 16 years it was out of office. It wants to come back and correct a lot of those areas of mistakes and build the new Nigeria that we are all part of, for which we all cry for. So I think that by and large, this single issue will be resolved. It's not the only, it's not one issue that will completely undermine the party. Yes, it's affecting the party, but I'm taking my bet. I'm not being over optimistic. I'm taking my bet that this matter will be resolved and PDP will go ahead to compete in the 2023 election with all the lessons it has learned and with a greater level of enthusiasm and unity.
Well, let me put you on a slightly more pessimistic note. I don't mean to depress you, but I mean, we here at Arise News can confirm that there are ongoing talks between Peter Obi and the Wike group. And I wonder if Mr. Wike should leave the PDP, defying your optimism, what does that mean for the party?
Certainly, if that does happen, which I think the probability is very low, I can tell you that is pretty low, because at the end of the day, Wike is a very experienced politician, and he's not alone. That's the good thing. He's working with a few other governors, and I think that by their collective wisdom, they will realize which is the worst, which is the best option, even in a bad situation. So I think that it may not happen. But if it does happen, PDP will go on with its campaigns and could still win the election. Nobody has a full understanding of how the election will be won or lost. And God may have decided how the election will go. And at the end of the day, it is the ability of each political party to persuade the citizens of the country that it has a vision and it has the right policies that will take Nigeria out of its current morass, its current miry clay, that will take it out from the patent poverty, unemployment, hardship, and low quality of life to a better place. That's what Nigerians are looking for, a new country, as I like to call it, in the new Nigeria concept. So I think that is what is important. No single man is bigger than the party. That's the way. No single person is bigger than the whole. You can have important parts, but that important part cannot be bigger than the whole. That it applies to PDP, applies to APC, it applies to every other party. I think that at the end of the day, the big parties will sort out themselves, and they will go to the elections and then let Nigerians make up their minds. What will make Nigerians choose them is not necessarily like two people are quarreling, because they know politicians are who they are, and sometimes they are driven by a cut of considerations that may not be what the people really want. So I think that at the end of the day, what will determine what happened to PDP is how it's able to sell its programs, sell its vision, and present the kind of team, because it is the team that will run the government.
But I don't mean to interrupt you again.
And that's what I think that's...
Right, okay, yeah, but let me ask you this, because we're fast running out of time. If the Wike group were to leave the PDP and throw in their lot with the Peter Obi group, the Labour Party, what is that going to mean for the PDP, particularly places like the South, the Southeast, even with people like yourself? Because, I mean, it's going to throw considerable, a very large spanner in the works, isn't it?
Charles, you see, I can tell you this, that what will happen is that there's always some realignments and some general changes that happen. You know, political processes act in a manner like they were flux. So if something gives somewhere, something may come in from somewhere. If a group leaves, another group may come to compensate for that group that has left. We have 6 months to election, and anything is possible. As they say in politics, 24 hours is a long time. So nobody should
there's no point belaboring
have
that
more
point.
headache than the...
I understand what you mean. There's no point belaboring that point, because you really don't have an answer, do you? I mean, the fact is that it's, we'll have to see what happens. But let me quickly, we've got a couple of minutes left, because you wrote a letter to coincide with Nigeria's 62nd independence, knocking President Buhari, saying his near 8-year administration failed to bring the expected positive change. I mean, his party people would say, well, you're a member of the opposition, you would say that. But tell us more about why you said that and why your disappointment seems to be so palpable. And we've got about a minute and a half or so.
Yeah, Charles, the point is that it's clear that our president is not being properly briefed, because I could not see how the president can be saying that the country is better today than when he took over, if he can look at the statistics presented by National Bureau, which he is is a government agency. If you look at security, is security better today than it was in 2015 or 2014? With almost 40,000 people killed violently between May 2015 and May 2022, or over 4,000 people kidnapped in the last 1 year. You know, he can't say so. If the economy, if you look at GDP growth in 2014 or 2015, 6.3% against 2.1% in 2022. You look at unemployment, it is 33% now, while it was 4.3% in 2014, 2015, 4.3 against 3%. Inflation is 20.2, while it was 9% in 2014. Poverty rate, we have 46 million Nigerians that were poor, regarded as poor in 2015. Today is 95 million. Exchange rate has gone from 198 naira official to 415 official, or in the black market from 250 to 710. Our debt has risen from 12 trillion to 41.6 trillion. Our corruption perception index has declined from 136 that we were in 2015 to 154. So between security, economy, and corruption, tell me where we have made progress. Charles, these are figures, they are not opinion. And I know that the president doesn't seem to get the proper briefing, so that's why I thought I should write him and let him know the reality of what Nigerians are feeling before we get the wrong, he comes away with the wrong impression. But importantly, I insisted that he has opportunity. There's 8 months now before the elections, and since he's not contesting the election, he should focus on taking very hard decisions that can change things. It's easier for him to take hard decisions now than even a new government, you know. So
right.
that's the crux of my matter, that in economy, in the polity, there are things he can do now which he could never have done, which a new government may not find it easy to do immediately. That's the crux. So that at the end of the day, we're looking at our economy improving. People dying every day, they cannot wait till May before we stop those deaths. That's my objective, yes.
Okay, well, I really appreciate the time you've taken to come and talk to us and to give us your assessment of those developments inside the PDP, as well as that letter that you wrote to the president on the October the 1st. Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa is a former PDP presidential aspirant, is a well-known politician and a business executive. Thank you very much indeed.